welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And this episode is a duel episode where we will be pitting the teenage heroes Wonder Girl against Marvel Boy.
Yeah, this is in lead up to our next Team Duel episode, which will take place in October, where we pit Young Justice against the Young Avengers and see who'll win.
Yeah, I loved reading Young Justice when I was younger. Wonder Girl was a big part of that team. I'm not too familiar with Marvel Boy, though he has a cool look, at least.
Yeah, he's a cool character. I think both of these characters are kind of deep dives for people who may not necessarily be familiar with the comics. But if you're here listening to this podcast and you're really only familiar with the movies, I think this will still be a great treat for you because both of these characters are pretty cool and they're definitely worth learning about. So stay tuned to later on this episode when we learn all about them, speculate on how a fight would go, and run their statistics in Monte Carlo simulations to find out who would win.
Before that, we're going to break down the comic book movie news from the past week, which there is very little news. We've been spoiled the past few episodes and the amount of news we were able to talk about, but this time we are really only going to be discussing how Marvel is returning to Comic-Con.
Hell yeah, I can't wait. I bet you the news will be pretty slow until mid-July, but we have something to look forward to. As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic. And real quick, guys, don't forget to join us on Patreon, where we offer ad-free episodes of this show, bonus content including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord chat server. Check it out right after this episode at patreon.com/dynamicduel, which is linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month.
And it's only $10 a month to become an executive producer of this show and help us decide our episode content.
But with that out of the way,
quick to the no prize.
A no prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award we post on Instagram to the person that we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
Last week, we asked, what's your favorite musical? Since we learned that the Joker sequel will in fact be a musical. We got quite a few answers. We're going to list our honorable mentions before we announce this week's no prize winner. Our first honorable mention goes to Matt Lamb, who said,
Hey guys, Matt Lamb here. So I'm not a big musical fan, but I do have to say a musical movie that I do love to watch is Les Mis from 2012. It stars Wolverine, Jor-El, and Catwoman. It touches on every possible human emotion. It gives you all the feels on multiple different levels. The characters are so identifiable, and it's just great.
Yeah, I'm not big on musicals either. I think one of the reasons they kind of get flack is because they tend to be very emotional.
Yeah, I've never seen Les Mis. I honestly don't know too much about it. But according to Matt Lamb, it stars Jor-El, Wolverine, and Catwoman. And that's an interesting mix of characters to have in a story, especially one that touches on all the human emotions like he described. I can't even imagine how they would interact. I'm pretty sure that Wolverine would try to hit on Catwoman and then Jor-El would just be doing some science stuff. I'll probably have to check this musical out sometime.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was like a Marvel versus DC crossover. That's amazing. What have I been missing all these years?
But great answer, Matt Lamb. Our next honorable mention goes to Lou, who said,
Yeah, hey, this is Lou. I got two favorite musicals. I like Repo, a Genetic Opera, which is a little comic booky, and I like Wicked. And I know it's not comic book-ish, but it's definitely Wizard of Oz, and it had comic book elements, even though it wasn't in a comic book, right? All right, so that's my answers.
All right, I have seen Repo, the Genetic Opera, which is like this gothic rock opera that takes place in the near future where an evil organization is financing organs out to people and then repossessing them if they can't pay. It's pretty interesting stuff. The movie version of the musical actually features comic book panels, and it kind of looks like it was directed by Joel Schumacher meets Tim Burton, kind of like Batman and Robin meets Batman Returns kind of style. It's pretty interesting.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailers, and it looked really good. I also haven't seen Wicked, but everybody loves Wicked.
Yeah, I hear it's wicked good.
Heard it's wicked smart.
Actually, listener John Starosky also gave the answer of Repo the musical.
Our final honorable mention goes to Miggy Matanguihan, who said,
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Miggy, and my favorite musical is the Flash Supergirl duet crossover. It was just a lot of fun seeing Barry and Kara's friendship, and the songs were pretty good. One of them was even written by the La La Land songwriters.
Holy shit, this is another one I haven't watched.
I do remember when it happened, though, thinking it was a pretty interesting approach to a superhero crossover. I remember thinking, I wonder if they're just doing this because both Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist were both part of Glee, and like audiences knew they could sing or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the reason.
It's interesting to learn that the La La Land writers were part of that episode, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually really liked La La Land, so that was interesting to learn.
I never watched it. But great answer, Miggy Matanguihan. Great deep dive on that one. Before we name this week's No Prize winner, we want to give a big shout out to John Starosky and Brandon Estergard, who took the time to call in. Brandon Estergard's answer was Hercules, the Disney animated film.
Oh yeah, like all the Disney animated films are musicals, basically.
But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Austin Wesolowski, who said,
Hey guys, it's Austin Wesolowski here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Just been super busy over the past, I don't know how many months, but I just want to let you know I'm here, but I just want to contribute to this question of the day. And I want to say, if you guys haven't seen it, Hamilton is probably my hands-down favorite musical that I've ever seen. Next, Greatest Showman.
Holy crap, Hamilton is amazing.
Hamilton is the fucking best musical ever. It's just a masterwork by Lin-Manuel Miranda. The lyrics just blow me away every time I listen to them. It's just poetry.
It's a game changer. It is a game changer for sure. And I'm really hoping that the Joker is going to be a game changer as well. I know there's still a lot of people out there who really don't like the fact that this is going to be a musical. And I don't know if any of these titles that we've mentioned so far has convinced anyone that this could be done, but I think it totally can. And I think it could be done really well with the filmmakers involved.
Again, you just have to look at Sweeney Todd as a precedent for like the tone and the story. I mean, I actually think that Sweeney Todd was a huge influence on the character of Harley Quinn because like she calls Sweeney Todd Mr. T in that play and everything. But the problem with Sweeney Todd is that I don't think it has great music. So
I'm sorry, what?
We can.
The music is good. You don't know what the hell you're talking
it's
about.
Meh. It's fine. But if the Joker movie can pull off the Sweeney Todd like tone and maybe even like the violence and everything, because that's a pretty violent show. And,
Oh yeah.
and just have better songs, I think it could be a lot of fun.
If I was Todd Phillips, I would be calling up Lin-Manuel Miranda right now to get him on board. But congrats to Austin Wesolowski for winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on in this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week.
And now that that's done,
on to the news.
all right, this past week, we learned that Marvel Studios will be holding a panel at Hall H at this year's San Diego Comic-Con. For those who may not know, Hall H is the largest auditorium at this event. It's usually reserved for big announcements from the big studios because it could seat the most people. Now, usually, Marvel Studios would always go to San Diego Comic-Con and announce their slate, but they haven't been there for 3 years now due to COVID and just Disney opting to reveal everything at their own D23 events. But I think I mentioned this last week, Marvel has been releasing some news recently, like the Thunderbolts movie and the Wonder Man television show via the trades, which is how Hollywood news is usually released, but not in the case of Marvel, who usually likes to put a lot of fanfare behind their announcements. I think this is great news that Marvel is choosing to revisit San Diego Comic-Con, especially since it looked like the con was in danger over a lack of participation.
Yeah, this was a huge surprise to me. If you were to ask me if San Diego Comic-Con was still going to be a thing in a few years' time, I probably would have said no. Because I never thought that Marvel and DC would return, since Marvel has D23 and DC has the fandom. So it's pretty surprising and pretty exciting that Marvel is coming back to that. I'm not even going to lie, I'm pretty jealous.
Yeah, we're going to get a crap ton of news to talk about around that time. San Diego Comic-Con is going to take place between Thursday, July 21st to Sunday, July 24th. And I believe Marvel is going to have their event on the 23rd. What sucks about that is that I will actually be out of town. I'll be out of the country on that date. So that means two things. That means, one, Jonathan and I will be recording early that episode that comes right after Comic-Con, so it won't have any of the Comic-Con news. And two, we'll be going over all the news a week late on the episode that comes out 2 Tuesdays after the event actually drops.
Bad timing.
Really bad timing. So, I don't know if you guys will even care what we have to say about all this cool Marvel Comic-Con news.
Yeah, because by that point, everyone will have said anything that has to be said about that already.
Right. But, we'll try to add our own little dynamic duel flavor to it. It's delicious. But since Marvel last visited Comic-Con 3 years ago, I think most of the projects they announced then have come out or have been filming. But I'm really excited to see what they'll announce at this event, specifically what new projects and new surprises they may have in store. We also did learn this past week that Kevin Feige mentioned that they're working toward a new saga within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're past the Infinity Saga with the Stones and Thanos and everything, and now we're going into a new saga. And Kevin Feige said it's probably easy for the fans to guess what that would be, given that they left clues. I think if you've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it seems pretty obvious that they're going down the route of Secret Wars and dealing with the incursions that take place when the multiverse starts collapsing in on itself. So maybe they'll announce something along those lines. Maybe we'll get a trailer or two, some new logos and some new concept art and stuff like that. I'm super excited about this. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys. 2 weeks late, but still. But in regards to what Marvel may be announcing at Comic-Con, that brings us to our question of the week. What surprise do you hope gets announced in Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con panel? What news would absolutely blow your mind?
Yeah, let's see if we've got any clairvoyant people out there who can predict the future. Record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message could be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and award that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to Instagram. Be sure to answer before July 2nd. But that does it for the news for this episode. Let's move on to the main event where we find out who would win in a fight between DC's Wonder Girl and Marvel's Marvel Boy. Alright, Wonder Girl versus Marvel Boy. We're pitting these characters against each other, obviously because they're teenage heroes, but also because when we were figuring out who could potentially be on the rosters for a Young Justice versus Young Avengers matchup, these two characters stood out as being on that roster, but also potentially as a good duel against each other.
Well, initially, if you remember during our discussion with the executive producers, I thought it would be good to pit Wonder Girl against Wiccan because their power sources are both magical based. Although you later reminded me that not only do Wonder Girl and Wiccan have nothing in common power set wise, there is a difference between magical abilities and mythical abilities. There is a difference between Dr. Fate and Wonder Woman, how their powers manifest.
Right, yeah, I think so.
And that seemed to fit with me. I was looking more at Marvel Boy, who is a newer addition to the Young Avengers roster. And I think with everything that he could do, including his enhanced physiology, I think he can stand more than a chance against Wonder Girl. And even though he uses technology and everything like that, they're not similar thematically. They're at least similar in that they're young heroes with a variety of abilities at their disposal, including powerful weapons and a spunky attitude.
Super spunky. Marvel Boy has been around for a while, hasn't he? I remember seeing ads for his comic in the early 2000s.
Yeah, well, there's actually been 3 different versions of Marvel Boy. The earliest one was in the 1950s. The most recent iteration was created by Grant Morrison in the year 2000 as part of the Marvel Knights lineup. And that is Novar, the version of the character that we'll be going with for this duel.
Yeah, there's also been 3 versions of Wonder Girl, actually. And the version that we're using in this match is Cassie Sandsmark. Most recently, there's been one named Yara Flor, who's Brazilian and, is pretty popular right now. But I feel like she didn't have enough backstory to be on the Young Justice team. Also, she's never been a member of Young Justice. So there's that.
Well, let's dive into these characters. If you've never listened to one of our duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. A Monte Carlo simulation is a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
And in our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based on the official Marvel Power Grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC character stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, versatility, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, considering that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's usually a way for Batman to defeat Superman, and we feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we're both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, so instead of debating these matches forever, we just let math decide for us. There are no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1000 simulations we run would play out beat for beat. And I believe it's my turn to go over the Marvel character's backstory first, so let me go ahead and tell you guys all about Marvel Boy. Now, there have been several heroes over the years to have gone by the name Marvel Boy, and it has become a legacy title in Marvel Comics history. The first Marvel Boy was introduced in the late Golden Age, where young boy Robert Grayson and his father Professor Grayson learned via video signals from Uranus how to build a space rocket to escape Nazi Germany, due to young Robert's Jewish heritage. At Uranus, Robert met a race of Eternals who raised him as one of their own, grooming him to be their ambassador called Marvel Boy. Robert came back to Earth equipped with the Eternals' hover technology and quantum bands that he used to fight communists and alien threats in the 1950s. Eventually, the Uranian Eternals were attacked and assimilated by the native Uranian race. Robert flew back to Uranus to save his adoptive family, but was also pulled into the Uranian hive mind for a time, where he lost the quantum bands that eventually found their way into the custody of Earth's international peacekeeping organization, S.H.I.E.L.D. After many decades at the turn of the millennium, Robert escaped Uranus and came back to Earth as an agent of the Atlas Foundation under the new codename Uranian. The second hero to go by Marvel Boy was Wendell Vaughn, who attained the quantum bands from S.H.I.E.L.D. and eventually changed his codename to Quasar after he was appointed as the new protector of the universe by the cosmic entity Eon. You can learn all about Wendell Vaughn's story in our Green Lantern John Stewart vs. Quasar Duel episode. The third and final hero to use the name Marvel Boy was a member of the Kree alien race named No-Var. Born in another dimension to the Kree warriors Captain Glory and Star Splendor, No-Var was genetically engineered with cockroach genes that enhanced his physicality.
What?
He and his parents were part of a team of heroes traveling on a vessel called the Marvel, which was shot down while in interdimensional space, crashing the starship and killing everyone on board except for No-Var, who was stranded as the ship's sole survivor in the Marvel Universe. After defeating a sentient corporation called Hexus, he attacked and beat Dr. Midas, the megalomaniac who destroyed the Marvel and its crew. The battle caught the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., who placed No-Var in a prison for alien and extra-dimensional prisoners called the Cube. Around the time of the superhuman Civil War, No-Var was brainwashed by S.H.I.E.L.D. to serve their interests and was sent to capture the Runaways for not complying with the government's Superhuman Registration Act. Though the Young Avengers team tried to protect the Runaways, No-Var subdued both teams and brought several of their members back to the Cube prison. The remaining Runaways and Young Avengers attacked the Cube to free their friends, and in the process, they were able to free No-Var of his mental control, and he took control of the prison. Shortly after, the Skrull alien race infiltrated Earth in a secret invasion, and No-Var came across the miraculously resurrected Kree hero named Mar-Vell, aka Captain Marvel, who, while dying, asked No-Var to help save planet Earth. It later turned out that it wasn't the real Mar-Vell that asked him, but really a Skrull shapeshifter who was given the memories of the Kree warrior. Nevertheless inspired, No-Var joined the fight alongside Earth's heroes, now wielding the fake Mar-Vell's negabands to help turn the tide in the war against the Skrull invasion. In the fallout of the battle, Norman Osborn, formerly the Green Goblin, became the Iron Patriot. a supposed hero who put together a team of Dark Avengers. Osborn called Novar a war hero and recruited him into the Dark Avengers as that team's version of Captain Marvel. After learning, however, that the team was secretly composed of villains, Novar left the Dark Avengers and built a communicator to reach the Kree Supreme Intelligence, which is a genetically engineered floating brain composed of the greatest minds in Kree history. The Supreme Intelligence communicated to Novar that he, like Mar-Vell before him, would now be Earth's protector on behalf of the Kree. Novar then joined the Avengers, who were in need of help building a time machine to save the future from the time-traveling supervillain Kang the Conqueror, whom you can learn more about in our Reverse Flash vs. Kang the Conqueror Duel episode. Afterward, when the cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force was returning to Earth, igniting a feud between the Avengers and the X-Men, Novar secretly stole a fragment of the Phoenix's essence for a mission he was given by the Kree Supreme Intelligence. Learning that the Kree planned on using the fragment for their own benefit instead of using it to save Earth, Novar turned against the Kree, who destroyed his negabands, and he escaped back to the Avengers. But he now found himself rejected by both parties. Alone, he established a satellite base in orbit around Earth, observing the planet and developing an affinity for its culture, especially its music. While there, he witnessed the Young Avengers fend off an attack from an interdimensional parasite and helped them in the battle, starting a relationship with the Young Avengers Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, whom you can learn more about in our Batgirl vs. Hawkeye duel. Novar joined the Young Avengers and let the team use his spaceship as their main means of transportation. Eventually, he ended his relationship with Kate Bishop and set his sights on rebuilding the Kree Empire, which had recently been mostly destroyed by Star-Lord's dad, Jason of Spartax. Novar offered his services to the Inhuman royal family, who at the time had given up their thrones to let the Inhumans on Earth to govern themselves. Together, they learned of the existence of Primogen, from which the Kree derived the Terrigen mists used to experiment on early man and form the Inhuman race. You can learn more about the Inhumans in our Shazam vs. Black Bolt duel. They traveled to the homeworld of the vastly powerful progenitors to obtain samples of the Primogen, but Novar was nearly killed in the process, surviving an energy blast thanks only to his special cockroach genes.
So weird.
Novar traveled back to Earth to assist Kate Bishop's West Coast Avengers team against the Masters of Evil West Coast, but learned she was in a relationship then with a hero called Fuse. After gifting her with a Kree energy bow, he left Earth and joined the Guardians of the Galaxy, where he started a relationship with the fellow Guardian, Hercules. When his former Young Avengers teammate Hulkling was declared the ruler of the new Kree-Skrull Alliance, Novar was named a representative of the Kree in the new Galactic Council. And that's his history. Powers-wise, Marvel Boy has enhanced physiology due to genetic experiments applied to him when he was very young, making him stronger and much more durable than your average Kree alien. He can lift around 25 tons of weight, run at speeds up to 150 miles per hour, fly at escape velocity speeds, and he can walk on walls and ceilings due to his cockroach genes.
Oh, like Spider-Man?
Yeah. Though Marvel Boy lost the Negabands after betraying the Supreme Intelligence, he still wields his Nega Gauntlets, which are shape-shifting metallic armbands that can form into a variety of handheld weapons or equipment, such as plasma blasters, bladed weapons, or energy-tethered nunchucks. Most interesting, he carries nanobots in his blood and saliva that allow for a variety of effects, including pain management, tactile technopathy, and limited psych manipulation.
Wait, what? How?
Like through his saliva. Like basically if he gets his bodily fluids in someone, his nanobots go into them, and he can like discharge like hallucinogens and things like that. His costume is lined with super dense alien metals, and he has complete control over his body, including the growth of his hair and nails. He can use this in conjunction with his nanobots for additional effects, such as creating poisonous, razor-sharp claws. He is a skilled marksman and also carries energy mines. But the coolest thing that he carries is what's called a pocket battlefield, which manifests like a pink cube that can expand and overtake a small area wherein Marvel Boy controls the physics.
Holy shit. This has to be like one of the most bizarre power sets I've ever heard of on this podcast.
Right?
Let me get into Wonder Girl's backstory. Now, Cassandra Sandsmark was raised by her single mother, Dr. Helena Sandsmark, the curator of the Gateway City Museum of Antiquities and a former archaeologist. Cassie idolized Wonder Woman and her sidekick Donna Troy, The former, Wonder Girl, who you can learn more about in our Donna Troy vs. She-Hulk episode. So when Wonder Woman moved to Gateway City to work for Dr. Sandsmark and live with her and Cassie for a time, Cassie could not be more excited. It wasn't long before a Doomsday clone emerged in Gateway City, and in an effort to help Wonder Woman against the monster that killed Superman, Cassie broke into Diana's bedroom and found a box under her bed which contained the winged sandals of Hermes and the gauntlet of Atlas, which granted Cassie the speed and strength to help bring down Doomsday and later the villain Decay. Though Cassie initially wore a disguise to hide her dangerous activities from her mother, Wonder Woman revealed to Dr. Sandsmark how Cassie had helped her, causing Cassie's mom to freak out, and Wonder Woman had to take her artifacts away from Cassie. When Wonder Woman's friends and family were summoned to Olympus to speak before the Greek pantheon, Cassie snuck away from the others and asked Zeus to look into her mind and heart to see that she was worthy and brave enough to be a superhero. Zeus granted her the powers of strength and flight, though he also granted Cassie's mom the ability to turn off her powers with a touch of her hand. With that ability instilled, Dr. Sandsmark reluctantly allowed Cassie to be a superhero and aid Wonder Woman as Wonder Girl, so long as she trained under the Amazon warrior, Artemis. When Robin, Impulse, and Superboy, the latter of whom you can learn more about in our Superboy vs. Rogue Duel episode, formed a team that the press dubbed Young Justice, Wonder Girl was quick to join their ranks due to her crush on Superboy. It was during her time in Young Justice that her hometown of Gateway City was destroyed by the villain Oblivion. During the chaos, Artemis ordered Cassie to quickly help the civilians, preventing Cassie from taking the time to put on her disguise, resulting in Cassie's secret identity being outed by the media documenting the events. When it was revealed that Robin had contingency plans to take down each member of Young Justice in the same way Batman did for the Justice League, Wonder Girl became the new team leader. But not long after, Young Justice was officially disbanded when a Superman robot seemingly killed Donna Troy during a time when both Young Justice and the Titans were attempting to help a confused and powerful rogue robot known as Indigo. You can learn more about the Titans in our Titans vs. X-Men Duel episode. Eventually, several members of the Titans recruited members of Young Justice, including Wonder Girl, to form a new incarnation of the Teen Titans. During her time on the team, Wonder Girl was often visited by Ares, the god of war, who you can learn more about in our Ares vs. Loki duel. Ares gifted Wonder Girl with her first magic lasso, which had the ability to channel Zeus's lightning through it whenever she was angry. It was later revealed that Cassie was, in fact, the daughter of Zeus, who, while disguised, had impregnated Dr. Sandsmark during her excursions as an archaeologist. Wonder Woman had recognized this when they first met, apparently, but promised Dr. Sandsmark that she would keep it a secret from Cassie. When Wonder Girl learned that Donna Troy had been reborn off-world, she joined a small team that traveled to the planet Minosis, where Donna had been brainwashed into believing she was a Titan of the moon. Though Donna initially attacked her, Wonder Girl was able to restore Donna's memories and they both returned to Earth. Wonder Girl and Superboy had developed a romantic relationship during their time on the Teen Titans, and after Lex Luthor took control of Superboy and forced him to attack Wonder Girl, she and the other Teen Titans broke into LexCorp to find a way to save Superboy, despite the fact that her powers had suddenly began fluctuating and, at times, disappeared completely. Ares revealed to Wonder Girl that her power loss was a result of Zeus and the other Greek gods departing the mortal plane prior to the Infinite Crisis event, and that her powers would be gone once the Pantheon fully left. The God of War offered to give Wonder Girl some of his power, with Cassie accepting just before Superboy sacrificed his life to prevent the destruction of the universe. After Superboy's passing, the Teen Titans disbanded for 1 year, during which time Cassie joined a Kryptonian cult in an attempt to resurrect Superboy, though their process failed. Though she rejoined the Teen Titans afterward, Wonder Girl found herself much angrier than she had been in the past, unable to move on from Superboy's death. When the Amazons invaded America, Wonder Girl denounced their actions and Artemis severed ties with her. After trying to get over her pain by dating Robin, Wonder Girl broke off the relationship right away, resulting in conflict amongst the Teen Titans teammates. Going off on her own, Wonder Girl decided to collect the mythical creatures left over from the Amazons' invasion, running into Hercules, who was attempting to start a new Greek pantheon with the female Furies, a team of female new gods from the planet Apocalypse. The Furies had been using Hercules, however, to get to Wonder Girl, but with the combined effort of the Teen Titans, former Young Justice members, and Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl was rescued and reconciled with everyone. After Ares' son Lycus stole Ares' power from her, Wonder Girl discovered that she had developed her own power naturally, and after Robin stepped down as the leader of the Teen Titans, Wonder Girl accepted the role. During her time as leader, Superboy was resurrected in the future by the Legion of Superheroes and returned to Wonder Girl's time, and the two rekindled their romance. Though Wonder Girl struggled as a leader with making decisions that result in her teammates' death, especially Superboy's. In post-Flashpoint continuity, Wonder Girl's origin was retconned so that Zeus wasn't her father, but her grandfather, with her father now being a stone-skinned demigod named Lennox, who left her and her mother when Cassie was 4 years old.
Is that because they made it so that Wonder Woman was a daughter of Zeus?
I believe so, yeah. Technically, Cassie is now Wonder Woman's niece. Cassie's mother remained an archaeologist who brought her daughter on her numerous expeditions. Constantly moving and without friends, Cassie began stealing artifacts from her mother's dig sites. During a dig in Cambodia, Cassie found a pair of bracelets in an ancient temple that allowed her to form powerful armor known as the Silent Armor, which was forged long ago in the heart of a sun to defeat the demon Trigon. The temple collapsed, however, ruining Dr. Sandsmark's work and her relationship with Cassie. Cassie ran away to Hollywood, where she was recruited into a new Teen Titans team by Red Robin. Eventually, the Teen Titans disbanded, and past members of Young Justice reappeared in the post-rebirth convergence of timelines prior to Cassie losing the Silent Armor and accepting her identity as a demigod of the Greek pantheon. Powers-wise, Wonder Girl is blessed with the natural abilities of super strength and flight. She wields a magic lariat gifted to her by her grandfather Zeus, through which she can channel his lightning. She was also gifted with silver bracelets like Wonder Woman, which can deflect attacks, and she's equipped with the Diamond Blade, a mythic sword that the Titan Cronus used to castrate Uranus. Finally, Wonder Girl has been trained in Amazonian combat by one of its greatest warriors, Artemis. Though the Silent Armor may give her a big leg up in this match, she's actually not going to have it for this duel because it's kind of a relic of the New 52.
Well, I imagine it wouldn't really give her a big boost in durability anyway. She's fairly durable to begin with.
Well, it kind of reminded me of Marvel Boy in that it's like this shape-shifting kind of metal that she wears. And it also granted her like a barbed energy lariat that she could use to drain people's life force.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But you're going with more like classic Wonder Girl, it sounds like.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's see how this plays out. Now that we got their histories and abilities out of the way, we're going to speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not the speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this fight could play out.
We don't set any rules for this match other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Plus, certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. Wonder Girl and Marvel Boy meet on the battlefield. Who goes first? I think Marvel Boy is going to go first because he's just kind of like a speed blitzing badass. That's what he's going to do. He's going to speed blitz Wonder Girl, and as he's rushing toward her, he's going to shift his Nega Gauntlets into blasters. And so he's just going to be firing like a whole shitstorm of plasma blasts at her.
Okay, but I mean, Wonder Girl, she's pretty defensive, right, with the bracelets. So she's going to be blocking like all of these plasma blasts and just reflecting them right back at Marvel Boy. That's, going to force him to adjust course.
No, there's no course correction here. If all of these shots are being reflected back at him, he's just going to like dive through them, twisting midair to expertly dodge all this stuff. And while in mid-dive, he's going to shift his blasters into long blades. And he's going to somersault roll out of his dive right in front of Wonder Girl and plunge these blades right into her torso. Match over.
Dude, like, her arms are still up. they're still blocking stuff. So those blades straight up, they just get deflected away from Wonder Girl's body, and then she's gonna summon the Diamond Blade. So now we got ourselves a good old-fashioned sword fight. Cassie, though, is trained by the Amazons with this thing. So I'm sure she's gonna disarm him pretty easily.
I mean, Marvel Boy's had some training too. You know, he was trained by his parents.
I'm not impressed.
He's a pretty good fighter. So he knows, well enough to switch his blades into his energy nunchucks, right? Which have like this like energized cable line between them that can grow like pretty long. So he's going to use this energized cable line to wrap around Wonder Girl's sword and just yank her weapon out of her hands to disarm her. And then he's going to come back and whack her right across the head with them.
I mean, Wonder Girl, she doesn't like carry the sword on her like in a sheath, like on her belt or whatever. From what I've seen, she could summon it in her hand. So if he takes it from her, it probably just disappears for her to summon later.
Okay. Oh, kind of like Hulkling's Excelsior sword.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, yeah, maybe she gets hit by these nunchucks, but she's also super durable. So she's going to take the hit and just retaliate by freaking straight up kicking Marvel Boy real hard, right in the nuts. It's just going to send him flying upward right into the sky.
Well, joke's on you, because Marvel Boy can use his bodily control to reroute his pain receptors, so he doesn't actually feel the pain of his nuts exploding in his pants. And without missing a beat, while up in the air, he's going to throw down one of his Kree replicator mines that as it falls, it duplicates into like 20 explosives, like grenades that just rain down on Wonder Girl, blasting her to smithereens.
Dang, okay. I mean, not to smithereens, but probably definitely blown away. And I'm sure like a bit of the blast was blocked by her bracelets, all right? So now there's some distance between Wonder Girl and Marvel Boy, as he lands back on the ground. So she's going to whip out her lariat and hurl it toward him, just wrapping him up with her lasso, which is unbreakable, and so he's trapped. Then she's just going to yank him toward her, like real hard, and just clothesline the crap out of him.
Well, how is he lassoed? Like, are his hands at his sides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So as he's being yanked toward her, then with his hands, he's going to pull out his pocket battlefield from his pocket. And right after he gets rocked from being clotheslined, all of a sudden, they're both inside of this expanded pink cube thing. And the environment is all zero gravity. So they're both floating within this environment. And he uses these weird physics to escape the lasso, kind of like floats off of him.
Weird physics? Like,
yeah.
Can they fly in the zero gravity?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, Wonder Girl, she's just going to play racquetball with him now in this environment. She's just going to, like, charge and punch him and keep pummeling him until he's all beat up.
No, because she's actually disoriented as fuck. Because within this pocket battlefield environment, up is down, and silence is like echoing sound. And while she thinks she's charging toward him, in reality, she's just like flying in a loop, like all weirded out. But Marvel Boy actually knows his way around this environment, so he's going to float directly toward her and just slash into her with his elongated fingernail claws, and that's going to poison her through a nanobot injection.
Interesting. Okay. All right, let me think. How does she get out of this? I'm going to say that she throws out her lasso, okay? And she just lets it unravel because it could extend to like limitless length. And because of the weird physics, it's just going to go everywhere. So like every inch of the pocket battlefield, this pink box is filled up like spaghetti. And that's when she sends Zeus's lightning through it, just freaking frying Marvel Boy, okay? But not only that, she also short circuits the nanobots inside of both of them. And I'm also going to say it shuts down the pocket battlefield.
That's actually a pretty good move. That was really good.
I guess it was. Heck yes.
I didn't think you were going to get out of that pocket battlefield. But using the physics against me and then the surge of lightning, that's actually pretty clever.
Good. So the pocket battlefield is shut down, and as she pulls her lariat back in, Marvel Boy gets pulled in too, because he's all tangled up, right?
Okay.
And his body, it's just stunned, and she's going to take this opportunity to summon her Diamond Blade again and just decapitate his ass.
His ass?
I mean,
how do you decapitate an ass?
She decapitates his head, but his ass is dead.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Sure, we'll say that the nanobots got fried in both of their systems, but there was still a chemical release there when he clawed her. So she's still poisoned. I think you forgot about that. And not only is she poisoned, when he clawed her, he also administered some hallucinogens for psych control. So she's like tripping balls right now, which is probably why she thinks that she just decapitated an ass. But in reality, she's not doing what she thinks she's doing. She's actually just like torquing or some shit. And she eventually just dies from the poison.
No. Dude, I seriously doubt that it'll only take like poison to kill her, like one slash to bring her down. She's a freaking demigod. Like, who even knows if the poison would work on her physiology? Or even like the hallucinogens would be that effective.
Dude, it's space poison. Of course
but
it's
is it god poison?
You don't know how effective space poison is. Or space acid.
I don't know. I think he's dead. I think his ass is dead.
No, she dies from the poison. And we could probably leave the match there. Either she succumbs to the hallucinogens and poison and dies, or she was able to overcome it and she decapitated him.
Sure. Yeah, let's take it to the stats.
Yeah, we'll put those in, run the simulations, and come back to you guys with a winner. So what did you think of that speculation?
I think Wonder Girl did a pretty good job of holding her own against all the crazy shit that Marvel Boy has up his sleeve.
Yeah, I haven't read too much stuff with Marvel Boy, honestly. I think I've only read a few issues that he was in. I wasn't quite fully aware of his entire power set. But when I started doing the research for this episode and I learned about things like the Pocket Battleground and stuff like that, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And I think it turned out pretty well.
That said, I mean, Cassie has a pretty classic superhero power set, and I think stat-wise, that actually helped her.
Yeah, she was definitely more impressive physically. You know, she was a better evader due to her bracelets. She had higher durability, strength, and she was a better fighter.
Yeah, where Marvel Boy got the edge was intelligence, perception, because he has enhanced senses,
and Plex, which I didn't talk about, which is his universe's version of the Supreme Intelligence. It technopathically feeds data to him from his starship. Marvel Boy was also extremely versatile, which you could probably tell through the speculation. There are a lot of different things that he can do, tricks up his sleeve to keep Wonder Girl on the defensive and having to adapt.
That said, Wonder Girl was also pretty versatile too. She's a good mixture of offense and defense.
Yeah, whereas Marvel Boy is almost entirely offensive.
I'm really curious to see who won this, because just looking at the stats, I have no idea. And it looks like our followers on Instagram also weren't quite sure who was going to win. They voted 52% in favor of Wonder Girl, so that's not much of a win percentage there. Pretty close.
Well, let's see how close it was. In the matchup between Wonder Girl and Marvel Boy, the winner is Marvel Boy.
Son of a bitch!
He won 596 matches out of the 1,000 simulations. Wonder Girl won 404. So it was 59.6% to 40.4%.
How the hell was it not closer than that?
I mean, it's still fairly close.
I mean, Wonder Girl came out ahead in 4 of the different categories, though.
And so did Marvel Boy.
Oh, yeah. But it looks like a slightly greater margin than Wonder Girl beat him. Damn it. I really think it was the intelligence stat that killed her this time. Why does she have to be a teenager? Like, why can't she have more education? Come on.
Marvel Boy definitely has an advanced education. He was able to build his own satellite base and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that was the lone stat that really put him above Wonder Girl. Basically, he'd figure out a way to outsmart her in a lot of these battles that he wins.
I mean, Cassie, she's not dumb, but I mean, she is still in high school, and she does have leadership experience, although she's proven to be not that great as a leader. This sucks.
But it makes sense.
Stay in school, kids.
And don't do drugs. Because if you don't graduate like Wonder Girl and get injected with a bunch of hallucinogens, you're just setting yourself up for failure if you fight Marvel Boy.
Oh, look, this episode comes with a moral.
The more you know, the more you know.
Yeah, kind of like how I know that DC's still better.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I know that you can't decapitate an ass, so...
You know what I meant. Well, that does it for this duel. Let us know what you thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Instagram or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by checking out our show notes or visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you could also find a link to our Patreon page where we offer ad-free episodes of this show, bonus content including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord chat server. Again, check it out right after this episode at patreon.com/dynamicduel, linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month.
In our next episode, we will be doing a duel in lead up to our review of Thor Love and Thunder. We're going to be pitting Power Girl against Valkyrie.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into Valkyrie. You guys probably know Valkyrie as portrayed by Tessa Thompson within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or in the comics, she's Brunhilde, a prominent Defenders character. Recently in the comics, Brunhilde died and gave her Valkyrie power to Jane Foster, who used to have the powers of Thor. So they kind of merged Jane Foster with Brunhilde to be the new Valkyrie. I'm going to go over the backstories of both characters. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun and really informative.
And I've been dying to do a duel episode with Power Girl for a long time. She's like one of the most popular DC characters that hasn't been in a duel yet. So look forward to that. But that does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, John Speas, Ken Johnson, John Starosky, Zachary Hepburn, Dustyn Balcom, Miggy Matanguihan, Brandon Estergard, Ariana Cuadra, Nathaniel Wagner, Levi Yeaton, Austin Wesolowski, and Nick Abanto for helping make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, and away.
True believers.